know, they're kind of like serious people don't sit around.
Al Green's going to be late, so we're just going to go in this order. But Al will be late, but we'll go in this order. But he'll be late.
Okay.
Okay. Al's going to be late. You go first. We'll just work him in when he comes. We good? Okay. I'm Rodney Ellis, and I want to thank all of you all for coming here today. We'll be joined by Congressman Al Green, who is now the senior member of our congressional delegation, and he's in traffic. He'll speak when he gets here. But I want to thank my colleagues in the elective office and some advocate groups for being here today. Today, I will be joined by Congressman Al Green, Congresswoman Sylvia Garcia, State Representative Gene Wu, County Attorney Christian Menifee is on the way, County Commissioner Lesley Briones, former mayor, soon to be, we hope, a member of Congress, Sylvester Turner, as well as representatives of LULAC and the League of Women Voters. First of all, I want to thank the Justice Department for responding to our request for federal monitors of our elections in Harris County and across the state of Texas. There was a time when this was a routine procedure, regardless of whether Democrats or Republicans were in power, to ask the federal government to send in monitors in areas where you think there may be any questions or any issues that might come up. It is a well-worn practice across the country. It's one that I've been involved in since I was a city council member, maybe even as a staffer to a member of Congress, and for many years in the state Senate. We ask for the presence of the Justice Department here because Texas is one of the most voter restrictive states in the nation. State leaders in Austin have ramped up their attacks on voting rights, particularly against minority voters, since 2013. And that awful, dreaded Shelby versus Holder decision. That includes many of the successful and secure voter participation programs that we put in place in Harris County, such as 24-hour voting and drive-through voting. In recent months, state leadership has accelerated the attacks on our right to vote. That includes a purge of thousands of voters only 2 months before Election Day, and without adequate transparency or accountability for that decision. 2 of my kids are flying in from college because of restrictions put in place on absentee balloting. They didn't want to take the chance. So they happen to have had parents who were fortunate enough to pay for tickets at the last minute to fly them in from upstate New York and New York City. But they're coming to vote because this election matters. As the largest majority state under the total conservative control, Texas voters, particularly minority voters, are constantly under attack for merely attempting to exercise their constitutional right to vote. Last month, I was proud to work with Congressman Al Green and Congresswoman Sylvia Garcia and others that you see here with me to collect 62 signatures of elected officials to sign on to a request that the Department of Justice send monitors into Harris County. That posting went viral. Over 100,000 people looked at it. They heeded our calls, but now Governor Abbott claims that federal monitors are not allowed in Texas polling locations. Can you imagine someone saying that federal monitors cannot come in when the issue is determining who will be the President of the United States and who will be a United States Senator in the case of Texas and members of Congress? I would ask them this: what do they have to hide? The federal government must continue to play a vital role in protecting our rights as voters under the United States Constitution, which is why we need federal legislation like the John R. Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act to correct the Supreme Court's disastrous decision in Shelby versus Holder. Until then, voters have to be vigilant. I urge anyone voting in Harris County to not hesitate to call 1-866-I-VOTE for information about your rights and as a voter, or to report efforts to obstruct, harass, or prevent you from exercising those constitutional rights. Also, our friends at the League of Women Voters and NAACP and a host of other folks have hotlines. KPRC, they have a hotline as well to answer questions that people may want to ask. And you can reach out to our incredible county clerk, Tanisha Hudspeth, for any questions you want to ask. Her number is 713-755-6965. Ultimately, I want voters to realize that all of the efforts by the state are designed to try and scare you into not voting, to try to intimidate you. Don't let them do it. In Harris County, you will be able to vote safely and securely, and your vote will be counted. It's my honor now to invite Congresswoman Sylvia Garcia, followed by Al Green whenever he shows up, and then after that, we'll hear from Christian Menifee, if he made it over, Christian Menifee, and then Commissioner Briones, and then former Mayor Sylvester Turner and Representative Jean Wu. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner, and thank you to all the members of the press. Today I have a very simple message. Vote. It is your right, your responsibility, and it is so, so very important. If you are eligible to vote and you're registered to vote, you must exercise your right. I have spoken with the Department of Justice, and they have assured me that that every Texan will be able to cast a ballot and have their vote count. The DOJ will not allow anyone to obstruct or interfere with your right to vote. They have assured me as of this morning that the federal monitors are on their way to Texas, and that includes here in Harris County, and we welcome them. During elections, some people will always make noise to try to intimidate people from casting a ballot. They spend their time on this because they know that the vote is powerful. They will work to try and scare you from voting. So let's not let them win. Voting is easy and fun, and tomorrow will be a great day for our country. Tomorrow is the final election day, and polls will open from 7 to 7. So if you did not vote early, please get out there tomorrow and make your voice heard. Your vote will be protected. Hoy estoy aquí para dar un mensaje simple. Voten. Es tu derecho, tu responsabilidad, y es muy importante. Si eres elegible en el estado, vote. He hablado con el Departamento de Justicia y me han asegurado que cada tejano podrá votar y su voto será contado. El Departamento de Justicia no permitirá que nadie pueda bloquear o interferir con su derecho a votar. Durante las elecciones, algunas personas harán mucho ruido para tratar de intimidarlos y prevenir su voto. Hacen esto porque saben que el voto es muy poderoso. Trabajarán para asustarlos para que no voten. No dejen a ellos que ganen. Votando es fácil y es muy divertido, y mañana será un gran día para nuestro país. Mañana es el 5 de noviembre. Es el punto final de las elecciones. Salga a votar. Las casillas en el condado estarán abiertas a las 7 de la mañana a 7 de la noche. Así, si no han votado temprano, salgan mañana, hagan oír su voz y recuerden que estaremos con ustedes. Gracias. Thank you.
Gracias.
Thank you. Thank you. County Attorney Christian Menifee.
Good afternoon. Everybody in this room is smart enough to know the origin story of federal monitors in this country. They were sent to jurisdictions that had historically discriminated against people of color, and particularly black folks, and not allowing them fair access to register to vote, to cast their ballot, to participate in the political process. Today we see that same history repeating itself, where the state is taking a position that I think is silly to block these federal monitors from being participants and monitors and overseeing our election. This is part and parcel of a pattern of Governor Abbott and the Secretary of State's office taking aim at our large, democratic, urban, diverse counties. We've seen it here in Harris County. Since we won the election in 2018 to take over the office that runs elections, we've seen fight after fight after fight with the state of Texas. We've seen lawsuits from Ken Paxton. We've seen tweets nonstop from the governor. We've seen a state senator take aim in most of his legislation, directing it directly at Harris County. We've seen an elections chief in the Secretary of State's office say that we ran a great election only to be immediately reassigned for having the gall to praise the work that we're doing in Harris County. Look, folks, this would all be very silly if it weren't so dangerous. We know exactly what Greg Abbott and the Republican Party are doing right now. They put out their guidance that they didn't want federal monitors in polling sites at this time during voting for a very specific reason, and it was to make people nervous about participating in the process. So my message today to voters in Harris County is participate. Make a plan on Election Day tomorrow, go vote. We will take care of everything that is going on here. Ignore the noise. I can guarantee you that the process will go well. I can guarantee you that your vote will be secure. And I can guarantee you that if you're eligible, your vote will be counted. We don't want this noise that has been put out by the Secretary of State's office, by the governor, to dissuade people from participating in the democratic process. Now, to be clear, I want to end with, we absolutely disagree with their legal position. We know the strength that the Voting Rights Act has in this country, and we know that cycle after cycle after cycle, federal monitors have been allowed to monitor elections here in Harris County and throughout the state. It should be no different this time, and shame on Greg Abbott and the Secretary of State for trying to create a fake fight in the middle of an election to keep people from voting. So if you're a Harris County voter and you're listening to this, you're watching this, please make a plan, and tomorrow on Election Day, go vote. Thank you.
So I know that at least a majority of members of Commissioners Court agree with my sentiments. Because we have a great county attorney who keeps us out of trouble, I couldn't invite all of them, so I invited Commissioner Briones, and we appreciate Senator Miles being here as well. Commissioner Briones.
Good afternoon. We're here today as Texans, and Texans will not be stopped from voting. Residents of Harris County will not be stopped from voting. As a proud Latina, I can say that Latinos will not be stopped from voting. As a proud woman and mother of 3 daughters, women will not be stopped from voting. No matter what is tried, we will vote because it is our constitutional right and nothing will stop us. Here in Harris County, we welcome the federal monitors. We are energized that over 1.2 million voters have already voted, and we look forward to a record turnout tomorrow, to a free and fair election, to a safe and secure election. My parents always used to take me to vote when I was a little girl. And I take my little girls to vote. And I believe that it is all of our moral responsibility to vote so that we're creating a better future for our children. No one will intimidate our exercising of our right. On the contrary, it will energize us more and we will be more motivated to vote. And that is not only our right, it is our responsibility. And I believe as Texans, we're better than that. And we will rise above and we will make sure that this is the most well-run election in our history and that the numbers are of record turnout. Because this is our democracy and we must vote. The stakes could not be higher. If you're listening to this, know that tomorrow from 7 to 7, please go vote. It is your right, it is your responsibility, and together in unity, we will create a better state, county, and country. This is not about Team Red or Team Blue. This is about us as Americans trying to deliver on the great promise that is our democracy. So let us all do our part to make sure that we are building the democracy our children deserve. Muy brevemente en español, un pilar de nuestra democracia es el derecho al voto. Un derecho que debemos proteger y que también es una responsabilidad. El condado Jerez ha sido un modelo en el apoyo y defensa del derecho al voto. Incluso cuando los líderes estatales resisten y frenan nuestro progreso. 1.2 millones de personas ya votaron en nuestro condado Jerez. Mañana podrían hacerlo casi 1,5 millones de votantes registrados. Votar es dar forma a un futuro que refleje nuestros valores. Eso se lo digo a mis 3 hijas que siempre me acompañan cada vez que voy a votar. Quiero que sepan el poder de sus voces y lo importante de participar. Es sumamente importante que su voz sea escuchada. Este es nuestro país, nuestra democracia y nuestro derecho y responsabilidad a votar. Ninguna persona, ningún líder nos van a parar este derecho. Vamos a continuar porque esta democracia es nuestra y es nuestra responsabilidad de votar y luchar por un futuro que nuestros hijos merecen. Así, muchas gracias y mañana salgan a votar 7 a 7.
Mayor Sylvester Turner.
Thanks. Let me start off by thanking County Commissioner Rodney Ellis, Congresswoman Sylvia Garcia, Congressman Al Green for their leadership. And I want to thank the 46% of all the registered voters in Harris County that have already voted. Let me thank them. But there are about 1.3 million people who are registered in Harris County who have yet to vote. And tomorrow is the final day. And it is important for them to know that when you come to vote, you will be welcome. You shouldn't be intimidated. Nothing should stop you. And I'm kind of with everyone else. Why would anyone resist federal monitors from being inside and allowing the sunshine to come in? Why not allow the sunshine to come in? It would answer a lot of questions that people may have. If people thought that things weren't going right and they made accusations and you have federal monitors in, that's an added safeguard for everyone. I don't care who you are, for everyone. And so it boggles my mind in 2024 why the state wouldn't say no to federal monitors on the inside. I hope it will serve as added motivation for 1.3 million residents of Harris County to show up, exercise your right to vote, stay in line until your vote is exercised, and do not allow anyone to keep you from going to the polls to vote. Rain or shine,
That's right.
rain or shine, tomorrow's election is consequential. So I will simply close by this. See your name on the ballot and go and vote for yourself tomorrow. And don't allow the governor or anyone else to keep you from showing up. So again, thank you all for taking the leadership, and all of us and our democracy will be well served by the federal monitors being in Harris County.
Thank you, Mayor Turner. We are blessed to have 2 distinguished members of the legislature where Mayor Turner and I served almost 3 decades. First, my dear friend and my successor in the Senate, who's doing a great job, Senator Boris Miles.
Look, this is very clear. When your children or your teenagers are doing something they don't want you to see, or something that they don't want you to know, they close the rooms, they close the doors to their rooms. That is exactly what the leadership of the state of Texas is doing. It's closing the doors to Texas because they don't want the rest of the country and Texas to see what they're doing by trying to suppress our vote. We cannot allow that to happen. It's not a coincidence that, yes, in Texas, the majority conservative underruled state that this is going to happen in. That's not a coincidence. Look, Texas, if you want a clear, transparent, and everyone to turn out to vote, Open the door to the room. Open the doors to Texas. Allow the U.S. Justice Department to come in so we can all be secure in our seek the site that we seek to make sure that we have a fair and open election. Thank you, Senator Ellis, Commissioner Ellis.
Thank you. Thank you. I think that's a reporter's. Make sure we didn't mess it up. We good? Okay. Next, we have Representative Gene Wu, fresh off of an airplane.
Thank you so much. Gene Wu, House District 137, Southwest Houston. When we were dealing with this bill in the legislature and dealing with this section, we all just kind of laughed and said, like, we're not even going to fight with them on this because, wait, you're going to tell the federal government and federal monitors they have no business monitoring a federal election? This is the election for the President of the United States, for the member of U.S. Senate, U.S. Houses, House seats, and you're trying to tell the federal government that they have no business in a federal election. I don't understand that level of insanity. That's a new one on me. And so when this bill went through, we didn't even bother fighting this. Like, okay, you go get arrested by the DOJ. I don't care. I mean, who's going to enforce this? All right? And here's the real shame. Here's the real shame that some poor public servant is going to get tasked by Governor Greg Abbott to be thrown against the rocks. To say either you follow what the federal law says or you say you follow what Governor Greg Abbott says, and you're now stuck in the middle. If Greg Abbott was a man of courage, he would come to Harris County himself and tell those federal monitors they can't come in himself. So when they indict him, they just indict him and not some poor public servant who's just doing their job, whatever he is. Okay. And here's the thing. Senator Miles is exactly right. And the way I thought about this was exactly the way he's got kids, he knows. Like when you're watching the kids and you can hear them playing and all of a sudden it goes real quiet and you're like, what's going on, guys? And the moment you walk towards their room, they're like, no, don't come in, don't come in, don't come in. That's when you really have to go in and look and see what is going on. People only say, don't come in when there's something you actually need to see inside. It's not hard to figure this out. And look, people have stated time and time again that if Donald Trump does not win this election, then his effort will be trying to overturn it in illegitimate ways. And time again, Republican leadership throughout the state say, hey, we're not doing that, we're not doing that, we're not doing that. But their actions seem to be counter to their own words. They say they're not doing anything underhanded. No hanky-panky going on. But at the same time, they're saying, hey, we're going to go ahead and kick all these eligible voters off the ballot or off the rolls. And then when we're counting the ballots, we don't want anyone watching, especially the feds. Something doesn't add up. Something doesn't add up. And it shouldn't just be the media asking. All Texans, all American citizens who are voting in this election should be asking, are you trying to subvert my vote? Are you stealing my vote? Are you stealing our democracy by hiding it in a dark room? And all we're asking for, and all we want, is from federal monitors to come and make sure there are some flashlights in this room.
Thank you. Thank you. So Congressman Green is on the way. He may make it, but if not, he was one of the reasons that we organized this press conference. When we were trying to get signatures, I could only get one of my colleagues, so to stay out of hot water, I didn't ask any of them to sign it. But we did get county commissioners from most of the urban counties, no more than 2, per advice from my county attorney. But he may get in and answer some questions. We appreciate one of our party leaders being here. I'm not going to have him speak. I didn't think I could invite them both and they'd show up. But this is totally nonpartisan. But we do have one of our party leaders here. We appreciate the League of Women Voters, LULAC, and NAACP. Questions, if you have any questions.
Are you going to allow federal
they're not allowed access?
I'm going to turn to my lawyer. I would refer you to the county attorney's office to answer that question. He had another stop to go to. But so my advice is, I always was taught in law school, federal law trumps anything a state may do. Any other questions? Anybody else want to take a stab at that one? Okay. That's what they told me at the University of Texas.
Laws that are unenforceable and unconstitutional.
Put that on, yeah.
I just want to make sure people don't confuse the federal
Come.
federal monitors with poll watchers.
Right.
You can monitor an election from this very room. You can monitor it from the car next to the polling place. We don't know where they're going to be. I just know they're on their way. And they've assured me that there will be nothing that will stop them from protecting people's right to vote, period. End of story.
So we don't know if they will be in polling locations specifically or just?
They have not given me they left this morning. They probably should be arriving. It's a 3-hour flight somewhere this afternoon. They have not given me their itinerary. I can't tell you whether they're going to be at a polling place or not. I can tell you they're going to be in Harris County and in Texas. Harris County is not the only county that they're monitoring votes. Texas is not the only state that they're monitoring votes. I think they're monitoring voting in 43 states and a lot of counties in Texas. But of course, this is ground zero.
Look, I'll add this one thing. If you're surprised that the Texas legislature and the governor signed into law something that was unenforceable, something that was probably unconstitutional, if you're surprised about that, you need to watch the Texas legislature a lot more because we do it a lot. And really, this was one of those fights where we're like, we don't think Texas state law is going to trump federal law, but you guys go for it. And we spent our time fighting other things. So this is one of those things where if you go head to head with the federal government, I'm pretty sure you're going to lose, but you're welcome to try.
You talk about an entrance. Congressman Alexander Green knows how to make an entrance. So with that, I want to bring up the congressman from Harris County, one of them, Congressman Alexander Green.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Hey, Congressman.
I thank the Commissioner, thank members of the press. This is an important event, and I'm grateful that so many of my colleagues have joined us here today, but I'm sure it has been mentioned. If it hasn't, I should. We had more than 60 persons who hold office to sign the letter asking the Justice Department to come into the state of Texas, not just Houston, Harris County. I wanted them to come to the state of Texas. And I wanted them to come because there is injustice in Texas. There is injustice here. There's injustice, and Texas has a history of being unjust when it comes to the voting rights for women and minorities. For women and minorities. In 1869, when Texas had its constitutional convention, at the convention they decided that women could not have the right to vote because it would be unwomanly for a woman to vote. Unwomanly, meaning inappropriate for a woman to vote. Texas has a history of invidious discrimination being perpetrated by high officials in the state. It was Lonnie Smith, a dentist here in Houston, who took Texas to court because at one time Texas had all white primaries. People of color could not vote in the primaries. Lonnie Smith, a dentist, took Texas to court, and the case went to the Supreme Court, Smith versus Allwright. And he won a landmark case that allowed people of color to vote in the primaries. The history is replete with examples of how elected officials have stymied the right of people to vote in Texas. So we have an attorney general now who has decided that he's going to pursue an investigation that nobody knows about. And as a result, he has done some things to people that should be investigated. This is bigger than just what's happening at the polls. I'm all for having the Justice Department come. Believe me, I want them here. But Cecilia Castellano, she has been accused of being involved in a voting harvesting incident that occurred before she announced her candidacy for state representative. This is something that the AG's office is doing. The AG's office has involved a local mayor, a political consultant, and several members of LULAC in a scheme, as they are calling it. This is a scheme to have persons be involved in something that is 2 years old, according to the office, engaging in election fraud. This is the Attorney General's office. He needs to be investigated. Linda Martinez, 87, confronted with armed police at 6 a.m. at her home, being investigated because she's accused of being with an individual who has broken the ballot collection laws. And then you have Imelda Rodriguez, 73 years old, and Mary Ann Obregon, 80 years old. Both of them had their homes searched after an early morning visit from law enforcement. So there is an injustice taking place in our state. And I want the Voting Rights Department, the Justice Department, to be here to investigate the injustice. Now, I'll close with this. This injustice is something that we have to monitor ourselves. I want everybody to monitor the polls where you are. And if you see something that's going wrong, if somebody's being intimidated and prevented from voting, you can call this number, 1-800-253-3931. Or you can contact the Justice Department at their website, www.civilrights@justice.gov. Become a committee of one. Become a part of Justice in Texas and do what you can to make sure everybody has the right to vote. I heard the mayor, I still call him the mayor, Mayor Turner. He'll always be the mayor to me. I heard the mayor indicate that he wanted everybody to get out and to vote. I was listening as I was coming in. And Mayor, I'm in complete agree with you that whether it rains or not, we have to vote. But it's important also for us to add to that, Mayor, I would, that we who look like me, people who look like me, this right to vote is so precious. That the Voting Rights Act of '65 was signed in ink, but it was written in blood. It was written in the blood of the people who crossed the Edmund Pettus Bridge. John Lewis and I were in jail together, and he explained to me what happened on the Edmund Pettus Bridge. He said he thought he was going to die. This Voting Rights Act is the thing that can make a difference in our lives. Remember I said in 1869 the Texas Convention wouldn't give women the right to vote? Well, now women have some reason to vote. You got a reason. You got a person at the top of the ticket that looks like you. I don't care what your color is. Now people are going to say, well, you don't vote for a person because she's a woman. No, you don't. But somehow every person before this has been a man. Somebody has been voting because they were men. I'm saying to you, it's time for us to exercise this precious right to vote. It can make a difference in our lives. And the failure can make an even greater difference in our lives in a very negative way. Thank you very much.
So we'll take a few more questions. I want to stress we own county property. We want people to vote. However, you want whichever party or no party at all. I heard someone say just write your name in if you want to. But this is about the right to vote regardless of who you vote for or who you vote against. Any more questions? Yes.
Why is it that, you feel that the state is doing something different than they've been doing for the last, 18 years now when they look at the federal government as a conspiracy theory? So what they're doing now is just nothing new, really.
Well, we in Texas, I'm going to let my colleagues answer it, but I think it's a good question to ask the state. Normally we write letters, Sylvia Garcia, Sylvester Turner, over the years when I was there, it was common. You have to have support from local officials, which is why when I called the Congressman Al Green and asked about this, he told me, well, you got to get local elected officials around the state. We did. Far more than I thought we could on pretty quick notice, but I think it's a good question to ask the state. Anybody else want to comment on that?
Sure. You're absolutely right, brother. There's nothing new. But as Representative Wu said, they've passed some laws in our last couple of sessions, okay, that they can't enforce because they can't override the federal government. So it's been going on historically here in the state of Texas for a long time. But this time, they feel that they have the legality behind them because of the laws we've passed here in the recent past.
Yeah, we actually have discussed this like during the passage of these bills. I mean, like this is the objective has always been to be able to cut down on a certain small percentage of voters with each bill. Right? None of the bills that they pass ever create insurmountable hurdles, but it's designed to trip up enough people, right, that they can win at the margins. And we know this because we see their numbers, they see their numbers, they know that they're not making any new progress, they're not adding new voters, they know that they can't win in the long run. So what have they done since I've been in office? Every single session they come in, they pass another law, make it harder and harder to vote, harder and harder for legal, lawful voters to vote. And after a while, after you do enough of this stuff, you got to hide it, right?
That's correct. And keep in mind, there hasn't been a case found in Harris County of voter fraud in the last 5 cycles. But yet we keep passing, the state keeps passing and passing to suppress.
In the name of security.
In the name of security and fairness. But it's fairness, but you won't let the Department of Justice in to oversee you. If you want a true and actual transparent election, the more people watching, the more transparent it gets.
That's right.
So in Senate District 13, I've asked community folks, as I always have, we're going to watch ourselves. We're going to be, people in the community from Senate District 13 are going to come out so people in the community can see friendly faces to encourage them. Don't mind what's going on here. You go in and vote and cast your vote like you're supposed to and like you have the damn right to.
Congressman Green, I don't see Congressman Garcia any longer. She talked about these federal poll workers coming. More than 1 million people have voted in Harris County. The DOJ made this announcement on Friday as early voting has wound down. Can you give us a specific example where someone from the DOJ may have helped someone vote, where someone was disenfranchised, someone was suppressed, not able to vote because of this? Why are the poll watchers coming here to Harris County if more than 1 million people have already voted?
Monitors, yes. Let me start with this, if I may, please. This is not about fraud. It's about voter suppression. Now, there may be some fraud, some scintilla of fraud taking place, but there really isn't evidence of that. It's about voter intimidation. It's about people who want to vote, but there are other people who will do things to deter them. It's time for us to stand with the people who want to vote and make sure that they can do it without others thwarting their efforts. So this thing about voter fraud, that's fake, as they say now. That's a big term that they've picked up here, faked. That's fake news, the fraud. That's what that is, emanating from somebody who's trying to hold a high office. It is voter suppression that we have experienced in Harris County and other places by virtue of not allowing people to vote at certain times. Why shouldn't we have voting 24 hours if we can afford to do it? Why shouldn't we have drop boxes around the city for people to put their mail in? Why shouldn't we make it easier for people to vote as opposed to more difficult? And here's the answer. It is about, for some people, protecting conservative white male dominance. Conservative white male dominance. That's what it's about. Women are discriminated against. Minorities are discriminated against. Liberal white men are discriminated against. Conservative white men want to dominate not only politics, but the state.
So I want to thank all my colleagues for coming on short notice. We'll be around if you want to ask some questions one-on-one, and thank you all. But at the end of the day, we just want people to go and vote. Everybody, go out and vote. Thank you.